Hello. I am excited to jump right in today to the Sustainable Sales Code, the 3 secrets that bring in consistent revenue. And these are probably not going to be the things that you think, because if they were, then why would you be here? And how would this be any different? Well, I'm going to start with a question. What is your opinion about one-night stands? Yeah, I went there. And actually, it totally relates. But what is your opinion? My opinion is that one-night stands are like maybe guilt-ridden, something you do once and then you never see that person again. It feels, maybe wrong, maybe a little bit slimy, right? Who wants to feel like that on a daily basis? Because I don't. Well, before I get into why that matters, I want to tell you who I am. My name is Emily Hawkins, and I spent 15 years in the corporate world building processes and people, streamlining all of that for productive results. I left the corporate world in 2017 to open my own business where I've helped over 2,500 people in their careers, in their businesses, and in their lives. My goal for you is for you to not have to spend any more time than you think you need to, which most of us think is a ridiculous amount of time to be successful. I have an undergrad in supply chain and I have an MBA in global business, and I'm here to give all of that to you. I don't believe that you need either of these degrees when you can learn all that from me. The average leader actually doesn't have any of that material. Only about 1% of the population has a graduate level degree. We need to change that, and I'm going to do it. And also, most leaders have no leadership training, and I'm going to fix that too. So I'm really glad you're here, because the whole goal of everything that we do together is to simplify, for you to understand that in order to move your business forward, your team forward, it's about doing less, not about doing more. So, do you want to dive in? Let's talk about the 3 secrets that can bring you consistent revenue. And you know where I'd really like to start? I love a visual, I love an analogy, and I want to just start right here. Who has seen one of these before? Put in the comments, I've seen this, heart, check, whatever you want to do. When I was a kid, I was fascinated by these. And if you've ever played with one of these, you know that if you take one of those balls on the end and you pull it all the way back and you let go, that the amount of force goes out the other side. So how much you move one way moves the other, and so on and so forth. Well, for 1 second, let's think about this as your business. So let's say that you have a big launch, you're wanting to sell a lot of things. So what do? You pull back that first ball as hard as you can and you hit the other balls. Well, the problem is that one side of that is effort. So where you're pulling back is effort, right? So you're putting all this effort in. And what's going to happen to your audience and all the other things is it's going to whiplash the other way. You're going to repel people, you're going to bother people, all the things. What we really want to do is actually move the balls on the end as little as possible. Why? Because it's consistent. And when we are running consistently, our results are much, much better. We would rather move a few people consistently than repel a bunch of people sporadically. And so I am going to teach you how to move different pieces of your business, because most of us think sales in our business comes from one place, but I'm going to share with you 3 different places that actually your sales come from. I want to move this as slowly and methodically as possible so that it's consistent, it's simple, it's repeatable, and your sales become that as well. So where I really want to start this journey is talking about the leader, because most of us think that our sales come from our sales team. And only from our sales team. Just the salespeople. Only salespeople are selling. Sorry, that's a BS story that you're telling yourself. In fact, sales come first from the leader. So the owner of the organization, the leader of the sales team, it rolls downhill. And the best way for me to tell you about this is to tell you a little story about the time that I decided I was going to be a kickbox instructor. Nobody wants me to be a kickboxing instructor. It is like watching Gumby, if you remember Gumby. I'm not coordinated. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I'm not good at it. It took me a 6-hour class of learning how to teach kickboxing to understand that I had no business teaching kickboxing. But there was this beautiful gem at the very end of that course that made it all worthwhile. And it was that the main instructor stood up and they said, you need to remember something. It is incredibly important. When you are standing up and you're about to do your, kickboxing and throughout the class, your class will only give you as much energy as you are putting out, usually less. So they said, if you show up at 100%, just know that your audience is probably going to be at 90%. If you show up at 110%, your audience will show up at probably 100%. So the more you exude, the audience will always be slightly less. And I sat there and I was like, there it is. There is the gem from this training, because that is not just for kickbox instructors. That is for all people. Whoever you are around on a daily basis, they are going to they're going to be infected by your energy. So the more energy you bring, the more energy you will get from your team. If you come to work on a daily basis like this, then that is exactly what you are going to get from your team. And so the first thing you need to remember as a leader, sustained leader, is to have sustained energy. You need to train for leadership almost as if you are training for a marathon. Yes. Why? Because your energy matters. What happens when we have energy as a leader? Well, I just told you that we exude more. And so our team shows up at a better place. But guess what else happens? We actually have better ideas. We come up with more thoughts and creativity. And what happens when we do that? Our team rises to the occasion, which is so important, right? Our team will never be higher in energy or higher in creativity than we are. Seriously, it's a fact. Now, I also want you to think about energy and creativity in another way. Have you ever walked into a room in your house? It's maybe, 8 o'clock at night, and the room is a disaster. Well, you have spent the whole day at work and you are exhausted. The thought of cleaning that room is exhausting. You're like, I'm just going to shut the door and go to bed. Well, that's what happens if you don't have a great energy level. You're going to look at problems in your business and on your team like that room at 8 p.m. at night. You are not going to want to solve those problems. You need energy so that you have creativity and you have the energy to actually get robust solutions and not create boomerang solutions. So what's a boomerang solution? A boomerang solution is, I got to get this off my plate. I got to get this email out. I'm exhausted. And so I'm going to do a half attempt at working this and I'm going to send this out. Well, guess what happens, my friends? It boomerangs back to you because it's not robust. It's not a great solution. You did not clean the room. You shut the door and you got to open it up the next day. So when you have energy and when you show up in a really effective way, it's infectious on your team. You will actually have better ideas. And I also want you to think about your emotions. Oh, we're not supposed to talk about emotions at work, are we? No, the only emotions you can have at work are dedication, happiness, and, oh, she's really driven, he's really driven. And that's it, right? We're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to be mad. We're not allowed to be pissed off. None of the other emotions are effective. Only happiness. Bring happiness and dedication and drive to work. And that's what we all want to see every day. Except that's not reality. But if your energy level is up and you as a leader are training like an athlete, then all of a sudden you are also sustaining your emotions. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because it's really bad when you have an outburst in a meeting and you break trust of everybody in that room. It's really bad when you have a boss, not naming names, where you come into work and you have no idea how they are going to react. So you have a code word with one of your coworkers because you both have cats at the time, and you say, "How's your cat today?" And they let you know the temperature of the room because you don't feel certain when you come into work every day. And if you don't feel that way, then you're not going to share ideas. You're not going to move the ball forward in your job. You're just going to tread water and make sure you don't make waves. So as a leader, having sustained emotions is key. One of the greatest ways of having sustained emotions is when you think, if you believe in your soul that you can do a better job, it will show up in your actions, your team will feel it, and they will never rise to the occasion. Another thing is you're always late to meetings. So you expect everyone else to follow rules. When they're on vacation, they need to be checking emails, but you don't need to do that. When meetings that you need to be prompt, you need to be at your desk, you need to be on your computer, you need to be answering things. But when anything falls on me as the owner or the leader, the rules don't apply to me. In my opinion, the rules apply to you times 10. If you don't show up as a team member, then no one will follow you. Do not do this. And then, not trusting your team because you think you can do better. And the next one is assume. Assume. Assumption kills more dreams than I think anything. Assuming will hurt you in so many ways. So there are times when assumptions are good, meaning, okay, we need to take this thing to market. So let's make some assumptions around what the customer's thinking or whatever, because we just need to get data, right? Fine. Assumptions, as long as you know they are those things, that serves you. From a team perspective, assuming you know why your team is doing certain things, assuming you know how your team feels, assuming you know how everyone else will react to a product, a new service. You know what? I'm not going to run it by the team. I know they're going to love this idea. I'll just present it when I'm presenting it to the client. No. That you are robbing yourself and that very client of a better, more robust solution. And you're damaging trust on your team. Assumption will kill your business faster than anything else. And finally, nitpicking. So micromanaging and nitpicking can be similar, but I want to talk about how nitpicking is a little different. So nitpicking is literally only pointing out the negative. Now, I did this when I had somebody on my team who was a rock star. Oh my goodness, this woman was amazing. She could do 10 hours of work in 2 hours. She was a streamliner. She was a mover and a shaker. That's what my mom used to call people that were like really successful and just great at what they did. So I assumed, let's start with the assumption because it was a little bit of both. I assumed that she wanted to move to the next level in the business. And so what I did is I started to coach her. Coach is not the right word for what I did. I started to nitpick her because what I saw was somebody who had so much talent, so let's make it better, without sharing anything positive. So all I did was push more work her way, assuming that that's what she wanted, and nitpicking everything that she did. Well, we were on a business trip and she quit. She said, "I'm out of here." She was crying. I've never felt like I could fail. You always make me feel like I'm doing everything wrong. I quit. I can't take this anymore. I made somebody feel that way because I assumed they wanted more, and I thought the way to coach them was by telling them that everything they were doing wrong. I ruined a great relationship and productivity on my team by assuming and nitpicking. So, how does that affect sales? Well, that one person that I was just telling you about had an amazing relationship with our client. When she walked away from our business, that business, from my perspective, almost failed. And so by having a team that was running mean, we were actually denying sales. We were denying renewals, basically, because we weren't able to grow and meet the needs of the customers, surprising and delighting them. So if for 1 second you think that your sales and your team are not the same, my friend, they are. How you run your team shows up in your sales. It shows up in your bottom line. And when you run mean, I can tell you that your revenue is probably running dry. All right, so let's talk about the final piece, which is sustained nurturing. And this takes me back to the one-night stand. So why did I start this whole thing with a one-night stand? Well, first and foremost, all of us think that the effort that we put in today, we will reap that by the end of the day. So we put a bunch of effort in at 8 a.m. and by 5 p.m. we will see the results. When has that ever happened? One of my favorite quotes from somebody I used to work with was, "You can put 9 women in a room, but you can't have a baby any faster." Great example of that is how you manage your energy, your leadership skills, and how you manage your team. Because if you are depositing energy and love and all the things in those things, then you will have sales, but you also have to do it with your customer or would-be customer. So what is sustained nurturing? So let's say that you launch something this week, have a big launch. You get all these leads, you get all these people that are excited to learn about your thing. And I don't know, let's say you get 1,000 of them. I'm just going to make up a number here. And 100 of those people purchase from you. That's great. Good for you. You have 100 sales. What do you do with the other 900 people? Do you forget about them? Because most of us do. But the thing is, when you went on a date with your spouse, did you ask them to marry you on the first date? I know I did not. In fact, I tried very hard for my husband to not date me because I was sort of a train wreck when we met. But here we are, like 15 years later. So that didn't work out from trying to repel him. But it was a nurture sequence, right? That is what dating is. It is a nurture sequence. So what does this look like from a customer or would-be customer perspective? Well, the bigger the ask, the longer the nurture. So if you want me to buy your very expensive product, and on that first day that we meet, you're like, "Will you buy my crap?" That's what I always call it. Buy my crap. Come buy my crap. It's so eloquently said, isn't it? You're not going to really get some goodwill. It typically takes 2.5 to 3 hours of consuming information about your product, your service, or yourself for someone to want to purchase. The larger the purchase, the bigger that number goes up. Just go ahead and times it by 2 for every $1,000 you want someone to spend. I made that up, but I feel like it's a good number because most of us ask way too early for big sales. And so what I want you to think about is that longer nurture. What does that look like? Why don't you become the subject matter expert in this person's life? Get them to know, like, and trust you. And this actually comes in a couple forms, but it's really showing up more, right? Where are you showing up more? Maybe you're showing up more on social media. Getting a consistent give strategy is what I like to call it. If you want to become a subject matter expert, you have got to share your gifts with the world, because that's the only way that you grow, and that's the only way people actually learn who you are. You can also show up more in their inbox, aka email. You can do this through newsletters. You can do this through videos. Maybe what I'm doing right now, I don't know. You can do this the way that makes sense to you. Do you have a podcast? What is a way for you to consistently show up and give value to your customers? Because if you are not doing that, you will not have consistent revenue. I was blown away when I had an amazing, consistent team. I was leading from a sustainable place, and I had an amazing nurture sequence in the form of social media and emails and a strategy behind it, that when I would launch something, my take rates were through the roof. And when I looked at those take rates and why they were through the roof, it wasn't people that just met me that week. It was people that had been on my list for a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 18 months, maybe 6 months. Are you willing to date your customers? And not like a real date, right? Are you willing to give? Are you willing to care? Are you willing to show up as a subject matter expert more rather than less? That is truly the secret. Your energy, your ability to sustainably run your team in an effective way, and create that nurture sequence for your customers. None of these things happen without all of these things being in place. You can try the nurture sequence without being a sustainable leader, but you won't have the energy to keep it going. You can try to have more sales without an effective team, but that well will dry up and you will do all the work yourself, and all of a sudden those sales dry up. It is the trifecta of the three that really makes the biggest difference for your business. Now, I'm sure you have some limiting beliefs around, oh, that's expensive, that's hard, all the things. I am here to tell you that none of that is true. I am here to tell you that everything that I teach in the Leadership Operating System is simple. It is stupid simple, my friends, because one, we don't have time for complex. We're not going to continue to do things that are complex, right? If I give you a 17 bullet point thing to do every day, you're going to do it for maybe a day and then you're going to throw it out. Consistency comes in simplicity. And that is what I teach. From yourself, how to lead yourself, how to lead your team, and how to grow your sales. If this is something that you're interested in hearing more about to see if this affects your team, your business, I would love it if you would put shift in the comments, and I will personally reach out to you and see if this is a good fit for you. This is definitely not for everyone. About 40% of the people I talk to aren't a good fit for the Leadership Operating System. I'm very selective with this because I want to make sure that this gets in the right hands to make the best, most productive change in business. I do not believe we have to work hard. I think we should be working smarter and working together. I hope that you have a great day, and we will talk soon.